Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. And it's morning coffee. You know what? It's a good morning coffee today because it's a little chilly outside. It's beautiful outside. But, fall is here. Fall is a part of the day because, it's only like 8 degrees up here. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of the show. Good morning, Alex. Hope you're having an amazing morning and a jump start to your Friday and into your weekend. So today, I'm Jen Snow. I'm your clinical hypnotherapist, Reiki master, energy healer, soul regression coach. And what a soul regression coach does is help you move through the different pieces and parts of you that are blocking and denying and hiding the epic parts of you that are ready to download into your everyday consciousness and reality. So we're going to talk about past lives. And we've been talking about past lives in the show quite a bit. They're a huge fundamental part of my everyday work, my soul regression, my mind, body, soul sessions. And for some reason, and not all clinical hypnotherapists, not all hypnotherapists find this in their practice and their work, that I seem to draw those people who have parts of them frozen or stuck, or belief systems built and created from alternate past lives, depending on where it lies for you, and in different dimensions and multiverses. So I seem to draw that in my practice, which is it's much fun. It's amazing. And it seems to be my experience as well when it comes to my own healing journey and the things that I've had to go through to unlock who I am today and release those feelings of being stuck, the self-sabotage, reoccurring habits, cycles, the not being able to receive and things like that. So there's been a lot of patterns and cycles, not all actually mine. Some were my generational and legacy cycles and patterns. And there's still a few more to go, which we will be doing those live as well. And those have really helped unlock the truth of who I am and who I want to be in this incarnation and what I want to bring into this incarnation. And, it's funny, every once in a while we have to step back and go, okay, who was I yesterday, i.e., before I began this journey of unlocking and unwinding and discovering my true potential and revealing that potential and then accessing that potential. And who am I right now? And when we get into that space of reflection, we can then, what I have found, a tool that I have used, is I reflect back also on my goals. In the old version of me, I had certain goals, wants, and things I wanted to achieve. And in the revealed version of me, and yes, the pop, he's on a mission this morning. Literally seconds before we were hitting the live button, he was racing back and forth, thinking he was super, super cool. And so good morning, Tana. And he's in a mode. So don't mind him because he may share his mode. He has zoomies. So, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun. So one of the things that, when we come back to reflecting who we are now as we've moved through and made some of these profound positive changes that have helped reveal who we are on the inside. And also, we call it the shadow, have brought the shadow pieces back into their light form so that they can integrate and support us in a light form way versus the shadow where they were stuck, where they were frozen. Because that's what the shadow is pieces of you that get stuck and frozen in your past experiences, past conversations, situations, past events, whether in this incarnation or another incarnation. And when we unlock the shadow itself can return to its light form. And when it's returned to its light form, we can then integrate it in that frequency, vibration, and energy. And when we do that, we bring home a piece of our light body. And this has been a big part of my everyday clinical practice. And so I thought today we would talk about why it was so important to reevaluate your goals, the things, your dreams, the things that you're working towards, because sometimes our old dreams, the dreams that we had in the version of ourselves that we have moved out of, that we have shed, we have released, we've unwound, we've let go, however you want to look at that process, do no longer line up with who you've become, who you reconnected to. So, and this is another theory, and it may be an unpopular theory. Good morning, Diane. Thank you for coming. When it comes to how people view things, but we have to let go of things, and we are not discovering new pieces of ourselves. We are remembering pieces of ourselves, and we are reconnecting with the pieces of ourselves in a different energy, frequency, and vibration that we were once connected to. So if you think about the pieces of your shadow that got frozen somewhere back in history, whether or simultaneous history, depending again where that resonates with you, those pieces we knew once upon a time as light, and then they got stuck into shadow. And there was an event, something that happened that had, impact on us emotionally, mentally, physically, and energetically, where that shadow began to, take on a role that no longer lined with the light. And so you're not discovering new pieces. You really are just remembering and reconnecting the whole of you. And as we do that, as we reconnect, as we rediscover the pieces of our true self and they come home, that puzzle starts getting, the whole puzzle gets put back together, because that's what we're doing. We're putting your puzzle pieces back together in a different form, in their original form, in their, their root form. We change. Our outlooks, our wants, our dreams change. And if we don't spend time renegotiating that and redefining that, sometimes we get into this stalled motion and we feel lost, we feel stuck, we feel discombobulated, we feel scattered, we feel like, what's the point? And we get a little off balance and disharmonized because we're not moving anywhere. We feel like we're just in this spot. There's no going up, there's no going down. It's just, you're kind of in limbo. And I have experienced this. And I'm not going to lie, it's the most, in my opinion, it's very annoying. I hate that when I get there. But it also teaches me a lot when I'm there. And it's just, the first time you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And so taking time to reflect on, okay, who I am, who I was, what those dreams, what those outlooks look like before, and now who I am today because of the work that I'm doing. What am I moving forward towards? And sometimes you have to redefine that. You have to, reestablish what you're working towards and what that's going to look like for you. And it's also bringing in the gratitude side of things, because, there are things that you achieved in the old version of you, the things that got you to where you needed to be in that moment so you could be here in this moment. And so bringing that energy of gratitude, and then actually also resetting your goals and what you're moving towards and what that looks like in the version you are today, knowing, here's the catch, knowing that as you continue in your self-discovery, self-growth, self-evolution journey, self-reconnection journey, you're going to have to reevaluate the dreams and goals that you set for today. And that at some point you're going to achieve those, but they may not, once you achieve them, then, it's putting another step forward so that we don't get stagnant. We don't become the still rock that gathers moss, because a rolling stone gathers no moss. And as we keep going, we can keep adding to the story, because we achieve as we, in the version that we are, the steps that we put in front of us. And as we achieve those, we need to add more if you so choose to. If you want to stay where you are, that's perfectly fine too. Nobody's saying that you have to change. But if you start to feel the of, oh my God, I'm feeling really stagnant, I'm really stuck, I'm really like that lost feeling is coming back, that boredom, that, lack of motivation or inspiration. I mean, we all have days. Don't get me wrong. We all have days. And those days are not like, it's when those days become weeks, months, and potentially years that maybe you may want to consider looking outside and saying, okay, what happened for me? It was realizing that, I did achieve the goals that I set for myself years ago. And I hadn't even acknowledged it. I didn't even realize it, but I was feeling very stuck, very stagnant. Like, what do I do next? Why am I not moving? Why am I not why do I feel like I have totally stalled and I'm stuck? And I actually did blame it on the move. I was like, oh, I've moved to this new place and blah, blah, blah. I have to rebuild. But And I sat down and I was just like, okay, I gotta look into this. Give myself my own, like, do as I say, not as I do. That kind of, like, you got to do as you do and say as you do. Lecture. I realized that I had actually achieved the goals that I had set, and now I have to redefine that, what that looks like, what I'm moving towards. And that's kind of what inspired to part of today's show, was that I forgot to look back and go, wow, okay, so I did that in the old version of me, but now the new version of me has so more, like, so many more pieces of my whole being reintegrated. What do I want this to look like now? What's my next dream? And, and I haven't actually fully defined that yet, but it's starting to form itself. And in that time of peace and realization and reflection, I had to be patient with myself. And for those of you who know, I am really patient with everybody else in the world, but not as patient with myself. And so I, I don't know why that is, but I always expect myself to be like here now. And I actually get after myself. And that's a piece I have to unwind about, giving myself time to see what that look like, how that vision comes to me. And that it's okay if it takes it a couple days to get there. It's, got to take a bit, like, moment here, take a breath. And because I just want it now, 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 now. And I do have that part, and I understand that part when we have the now, now, now part, but negotiating with that part, going, yes, I hear you and it's okay. But you know what? This might take a minute, and it's okay if it does. And just having that quick mindset reset conversation can make a big difference as you are starting to see that new vision unfold before you and come to you and guide you in the synchronicities that are going to be your next step. The synchronicities from your oversoul, your higher self, your spirit and soul team that are going, okay, you're ready. You've welcomed us in to show you. Let's go. Now it's about paying attention. It's about allowing yourself to notice the small little things that are going to be that trigger for inspiration that is going to guide you into the next phase. And here we go. So, and it's also giving yourself permission to move forward and accept and receive those synchronicities. So, and that's just one way that, if you're starting to feel stuck, stalled, or, in quicksand where you can't move, just stepping back and saying, okay, the version I was, what did I achieve? What was I working towards? Does that line up with me today? The version I am today after all the work that I've done? And how can I redefine that? How can I elevate that so that that frequency of my, and maybe it is just changing the frequency of the goal that you're working to in the old version of you, and remapping it and redefining it in the new version of you and what it looks like moving forward, and allowing that to be your guide and synchronicity of flow as you step into that space of movement that is never really lost, but sometimes overlooked. So that is part of today. And then the next part of today, the fun part. Well, I feel like it's all fun, but that feels like, sometimes we feel a little bossy. Is about past lives on your own journeys. So this is one of the coolest things. Is something I learned to do when I was in clinical hypnotherapy school. Was I learned how to guide myself on a journey. And it didn't intentionally try to do it. It actually began happening, and I discovered, oh, okay, I am doing something that, is allowing this to unfold for me. So I can't drink cold coffee, so I have to drink it while it's hot. I drank cold coffee for many, many, many years doing barn work in early mornings. And for those of you who, and I totally digressed. Those of you who've done barn work at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., you don't really have time to sit down and drink a coffee. And at that time, I wasn't willing to get up half an hour earlier so I could sit down and drink a hot coffee. So I drank a lot of cold coffee while I could. And I have become a bit of a cold coffee snob. Totally admit it. Totally own it. I know. Where I don't want to drink cold coffee. So I'm going to drink this while it's hot because, yeah, that phase of my life is over, hopefully. I can't even drink cold coffee in the summer. Like iced coffees, they smell delicious and they always look so good. And I tasted them like, no, can't do it. Has to be hot. So there's a little insight to Jen. One of my little weird, things about me. But so during this process of school, I, was doing a lot of work outside of class. Just trying to memorize everything, to be honest with you. I was just trying to get, through the class, let alone be at the top of my class. Because as anybody who knows me, I'm actually quite a competitive person. I'm a quiet competitive person because I have learned that the only person I'm competing against is myself. And that took a long time to learn that lesson, and unwind that lesson in hypnosis was really quite interesting because when I went to school, I was definitely the kind of guy that was competing against everybody, and not in a mean way. I was never mean about it, but I would help you get to where you needed to go. But I would just make sure that if that was helping you elevate your game, that I was making sure my game was elevated at the same time. And it worked for me for a lot of years, but actually it was barn work that started to show me that the only person I needed to compete with was myself. So if I needed to reach a goal, I had to actually coach myself into that. It wasn't about the other person. I did use the other people I did barn stalls with to be my gauge of speed, so that I knew if I was, really lagging, or if I was able to, extend and move and reach my desired minutes per stall. And my minute per stall was really quite ridiculous. And my goal for that was really ridiculous, but it, made the stall work even more fun for me at that time in my life. So, during class, what I started to learn, like outside, like when I was finally done studying the content and the steps, tools, and tricks to how to help people move into their own journeys, I would practice those steps all the time. Every night, 3 to 4 times a night, I would just like walk myself through it. I would like role play. I was using role play in that sense to like pretend that my pillow on my Reiki table, which is over here, and it has a horse on it. I would use that pillow and pretend that that was like a person, and I was walking them through the steps. What I realized I was doing I was training and integrating those steps into my own psyche, and I was dropping into hypnosis because I was in hypnosis all day long, like the 8-9 hours of class and then the 4 hours of extra studying. I was stuck in hypnosis. So I was actually dropping in to the session myself as I was trying to memorize and formulate, because at the time I was blind, I couldn't read the words, so I didn't get to use the paper like everybody else. So I was listening, and I would record it and I would listen to it. What was happening was, when I would get to the point where we were ready to do interactive work, I would naturally begin to journey. Because, and here's the trick, when you're doing your own meditation, I always set the intention, or I would have a statement of intent, but a statement that would, unlock the journey and allow my subconscious mind to guide me on that journey, and my soul team to be a part of that process. So I'd get to that point where I was either, listening to the steps in my earphones to memorize them, or actually using my pillow as a person when I didn't have time when I wasn't doing my case studies. And all of a sudden I started traveling. What I realized, that intention, that statement of intent that I would set. And it was very simple. A lot of times I would just want to, I would give permission, just know what I needed to know to help me move forward. That was it. That was my statement every time, to know what I needed to know to help you move forward. And the next thing I knew, I started traveling into past lives. And for those, what a full regression is when you step into that past life and you see through your eyes. I'm a full regression person most of the time. Every once in a while, I do a partial regression where you kind of hover and you watch that life. So that's what's happening, is you're still part of that life, but you're kind of remote viewing that life. It is a little bit, either way, one is not better than the other. It's just where your comfort level lies and where you feel what resonates and what you're drawn to. Like I said, I've done both. I've never found both, like one versus the other, that had more or better results. It was just what was comfortable. And I do suggest, when you first start doing this, perhaps giving yourself permission to remote view, just as you get used to the process of actually accessing your alternate incarnations. Why? Because the truth of the matter is, not every alternate incarnation is roses and sunshines. It's not. Sometimes they can be exceptionally brutal. And if that is something that you don't want to see, you don't want to journey to on your own without, somebody there supporting you, then add that to your statement, add that to your soul team, give them only permission to take you to a life or alternate incarnation that is positive. that is, you know, whatever wording comes to you in that moment. For me, I always just say positive. Or for instance, like if I have a client looking to regain confidence, sometimes we go back to a past life where they had confidence, and we can bring that essence, that vibration, that understanding, that wisdom, that insight back into this incarnation, and their confidence plugs into place. So that is something you can do. And you will go. Like what you said is your statement of intent will be what guides you. And that will be because your subconscious mind hears that. And then the other trick of the statement of intent is when you get into that place where you feel fully relaxed and at ease and at calm and at one with yourself, when you feel like the sounds around you are no longer bothering you, they're not they're not distracting you, they're not creating disruption. That is also when you add that statement of intent just before you kind of get to that point where you're like, oh, I don't remember a thing. And you add that statement of intent, and then you give yourself permission to go on the journey, to be guided where you want to go, inviting your soul team, your spirit team that is for your highest and greatest good to be with you on that journey. And knowing that as you journey back, you will gain that insight. Go ahead, both in. Yeah, you do. You can, and that is a very real thing. Sometimes we start remote viewing and then we step into that because, okay, when you have both, a lot of times it's giving you time to settle into that incarnation, to take a remote view, to choose to like drop in. And when you feel comfortable, then if you are if full regression is something you would naturally lean into, then you will like drop in. But yeah, you can. And sometimes, honestly, you can jump in and out too during the whole process. So one of the things that we do is we go back to childhood. And I know a lot of hypnotherapists don't do it this way, but the value in jumping back to childhood and seeing the entire life can give you a lot of insight, and also can help unwind those extra potential integrated cellular belief systems and experiences that you've had, and let them release them so that they don't become a part of your present day incarnation. So one of the things that we do is we begin at the end of the life, we do a remote view, a remote understanding, and we do a screening process to screen out the things in that life that you're ready to leave behind that go back into that incarnation, but they create a separation from the present incarnation and the alternate incarnation. And we build that gap so that you no longer live in that the alternate version of the cell memory. You come into your present now cell memory, which is this present incarnation. So yeah, it's really neat when you're able to do both. And sometimes that point when we come out, there's purpose to that. So one thing you can do is if you're jumping in and out, when you come out and you go in, asking yourself, what is the purpose of me viewing from this perspective versus that perspective? Because that can also give you some insight of how that past or alternate life incarnation sits with you. So that is one of the biggest tricks, though, is when it comes to diving into a past life or in your own work and you want to go for it, setting your statement of intention or your intention and reapplying that statement of intent at the point when you feel ready to travel. The other thing is using a medium to travel. And what I mean by medium to travel is a doorway, a staircase, a cloud, an elevator, escalator. I actually have a client who uses a unicorn to travel. She has a unicorn waiting in her home base, and she pops on that unicorn and she rides that unicorn into her next incarnation. That's how she moves. It's what resonates with you. A magic carpet. There's so many different ways that you can create an imagery that represents your path from where you are in home base to that alternate, that past life incarnation, that other incarnation, to move into it. But it also gives you a doorway. Maybe it's just a doorway that you see, but a doorway that if you drop in and move into a life and you're done with it, you can step back through that. You can follow that path back. And that's the other important thing, is having that pathway back, so that if, for instance, I had a client where, because I teach you how to do this in my master classes. And I had a client who was like at home. She was doing a lot of her work because I'm a firm believer that we have the capacity to do a lot of our own work. And then when we need to be in the chair, that, you come in, you sit in the chair and you go through the big ones, right? That's what I do. I'm doing a session today, this afternoon, because there's something big and I just want to be the client. I don't want to be the client and the therapist today. I just really decided that I just wanted to be the client and I want to sit there and I want to go through the experience. And so, but most of the time I do a lot of my own work and I'm constantly evolving, constantly shedding the old generational legacy stuff and some of my own personal stuff from other alternate incarnations, because a lot of mine doesn't come from this incarnation. I don't know why, but and I had stuff in this incarnation, but it's not the root cause. And so, totally lost my train of thought. That happens every once in a while, especially these days with the equinox coming. Oh boy. And using that medium and having the other, and I'm blank. So that'll come back to me and we'll probably do it on another show or at the end of the show. Oh, I hate that. Yeah, brain fart time. But having your medium that you feel comfortable with, that resonates with you, will be your second step to helping that you move into that past life or alternate incarnation or, different universe. And here's the thing, if it's too much, see, it does come back. Having that pathway and knowing that pathway, that at any point in time, you can come back to the present moment, that you can come back to your home base. That's another reason we build the home base. The home base, and I always describe it as home base, that self-source and soul space, that place where you can reconnect with your true self. But that place is your connection and you're always grounded to it. You're always connected to it. You got your cord of light that always brings you back into this physical incarnation and you cannot get lost. So knowing your mediums, if at the end of a past life you want to walk through a door because you don't want to walk down a staircase, or you don't want to fly back on that magic carpet ride or ride the unicorn back, that's fine. You can have two different outlets that allow you. This is my entry. This is my exit. For, in my sessions, our exit is actually going into your oversoul, into your oneness space. And from there, we do a little more work and we reconnect the soul pieces that were shadow, now are light, back into your full present self. And losing train of thought. It does go with Friday. It is Friday. And you know what? There's a lot of energy right now too. I don't know about how you guys have been feeling it, but the last 72 hours, there has been some funky energy and I haven't been able to put my, oh, you're welcome. Always welcome, Tana. Haven't been able to put my fingers on it, but something's out of whack. And I know, maybe it has something to do with the equinox coming up on Saturday. I know there's a lot of meditation, a lot of chance to unload and unwind and get ready for a time of, a really great time for the last little bit of harvest, but gratitude and reflection on where we came this year, because we're moving into winter. We're moving into the dark seat of the soul time where we get that quiet time where the days are shorter and a lot more reflection time and unwinding time where the shadows seem to expose themselves even more. But those are all opportunities. All opportunities. So back to having those two different outlets. So like I said, moving to that life and heading into the light. That's the doorway, right? That's my second doorway. We've all been feeling, I know, right? It is. It's distracting. And it's a little offsetting. So I'm going to digress again because I did reach out to a couple actually witchy friends of mine because, I am unlocking the witchy side of me. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm learning to understand that side of me. That side has always been there. It's always been an active side. I definitely, when I was younger, had a real pull with it, but really didn't spend the time being educated around it. But just my knowing side of me used to come out a lot. But I want to understand the integrate side because there's a lot with creating and connecting that I want to remember. And so But I did reach out and I was like, and everybody is feeling it and they're across the world and they're like, yep, no, you're not alone. There's something funky in the energy right now. And it's just, so I sat last night and one of the things that one of my girlfriends did tell me is salt water, spraying that in your doorways and your windows and you bless the salt water and you bring in your guides, your energy, your higher vibration, and you put it into the salt water because the water does absorb your thoughts, your intentions. And that salt water works as a clearing, cleansing space and your animals won't lick it up. So I did do that. And definitely had a little bit way better sleep, less interrupted sleep because there's not been like spirits coming in the room, but there's been energy in the room, if that makes sense. Where I'm not getting like a full body impression of somebody who needs help, but I'm feeling the passing. Maybe it could be the passing of energy coming through. So, and usually my house in the mountains where I live is usually pretty quiet because the energy of the mountain usually takes care of that. It's very rare that I get interrupted sleep up here. Unless the puppy is guarding us from the evil moths on the other side of the window, because that is a nightly routine. Yes, moths on the other side of the window. Yep. Until the outside lights go out because they're on a timer. It's it's a big job to guard the house from those killer moths and the deer. It's hard work. And but that's only really time up here that I get interrupted. And when I'm on the coast, it's a lot more chaos, like a lot more busy energy down there. So I don't like always sleep as well until I integrate into that energy a little bit fully. And so, but yeah, so just everybody's kind of feeling it. But that was one tool that one of my girlfriends did suggest was the salt water spray. Just to kind of clear out the house and the doorways and the windows is where you use it. So, and you set your intention as you're doing so. So a little tool, tip, and trick there. And, having that extra doorway is so important when you're doing your past life regression work, putting it there so that, if you need an exit, you got an exit. Because like I said, some of them are not roses and sunshines. Like I have dropped into some gnarly past lives. Not going to lie. You know what? I have, now that I think about it, I don't think I've had a really I'm going to call it a muggle past life in a way. None of them have been like, do. They're all been pretty intense, the ones that I have dropped into. I'm going to have to go see if I even, I'm going to see. I've gone to positive ones, but they're still pretty intense lives. But yeah, no. And there's nothing wrong with having a muggle past life either, because sometimes it's just one little thing. And I learned that in class. Like it can be, a statement of fact, that a belief that becomes your fact can be something so simple, something you wouldn't even normally pay attention to. This is how powerful your thoughts are in this present incarnation and in those when and then incarnations, because they get rooted and then they build and they compound and they anchor and then they become a part of you that gets bigger and bigger and it becomes a bigger piece of you. So sometimes when you go back to a past life that you're like, nothing's happening here, something has happened. There's a statement, there's a belief system, there's some little minute piece of that past life that has become a big wall in your present incarnation. So yes, if they're boring, still go through them. If you're like, I don't get it, go through them and pay attention to the thought patterns of that version of you, the belief systems of that version of you, the experiences of that version of you. And when you go through your screening process, your letting go process, sometimes it's just putting it in, one thing you can do is put everything negative from that past life in a suitcase and send it to the light, or give it to the fire, the earth, the wind, the water, the ether, source, creators, universe, however you feel drawn, and release it from you fully, completely, knowing that as you release that, you have let it go and that it's no longer a part of you and you are no longer a part of it. It has become an experience that you had that you can draw is insight and wisdom from. So and that is a big statement. What of this past life can I draw wisdom and insight from? Because when you can ask that question, you begin to see that past life in a very different point of view. So that's another trick when you're doing your own work, is What insight and wisdom can you gain from this past life to help you move forward in the very best way? To help you in the best way. And the other question is, when you get to that past life, what was the purpose of that life for you? This can be the ultimate question. And sometimes we get it right away, and sometimes we don't. A lot of times we do, but if you don't, it's okay. It'll come to you. When you get to the end of that past life and you're ready to walk through your second door back into this present incarnation, this physical body, this physical space, this physical reality, what was the purpose of that life for you? And did you learn the lesson? That can complete that life right then and there for you. Once you understand that you don't have to redo the purpose that you are, because sometimes that's all it is that we reactivated that purpose, and that purpose has been complete. That lesson has been learned, but somehow we in this life had an emotional component that is tied to that purpose. And then we start redoing, reoccurring cycles and patterns come back into the incarnation that don't need to be reoccurring, or cycles and patterns that we're going through. So that's one way to help, clear out a past life or an alternate incarnation, depending on what your intent is. So you've got your statement of intent, both in the beginning of your session and right before you're about to use your medium to move into that past life, whether, like I said, staircase, elevator, unicorn, magic carpet ride, cloud, anything that you consider as a path, and a path. I mean, really, it could be a bike, it could be a car, it could be anything that you're driving into that, past life. It could be a door, just simple and easy. Walk through a door. And what does your exit pathway look like? Is it is it the same one? Is it a different one? And and making sure you have those couple things in place so that when you decide you're going to do this, you have your entrance and your exit strategy. You've got your soul and spirit team with you, and know when you go into this past life that you're accessing this path life as information and experience that you already had. So you actually don't even technically have to move through the past life. Like I said, we do it. I do it because I've seen the value in it, and I've seen the value in it over and over again. Like, it is just massive amount of value being able to unlock every little tiny little thing. But if you go into a past life and you don't want to go through the whole thing, give yourself permission to now access your consciousness, knowing that you have all the information about that past life because you've already done it. It's over. It's complete. So you could actually go to the end of that past life and just look back and reflect upon it without actually having to drop into it, whether you full regress or partial regress. And then, asking yourself those questions. What do you need to leave behind? How do you want to leave it behind? How do you want to let it go? What was the purpose of that past life, and what the lessons learned? And can you now feel and know that that life is complete as you move forward, leaving all of that experience in that past life where it belonged, and stepping back into your present incarnation free of the experience, but able to gain the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge and the insight of that life so that you may utilize it to help you in the very best way it can. And then it becomes an experience outside of you, not experience that you're reliving. And that can definitely help unwind those cycles. Yep. Exactly. Slip and slide. Love it. We're going to do that. I'm borrowing that when we go, we're going to use that. I love that one. Actually, I've never thought about a slip and slide. Oh my God. I love slip and slides. I used to love those as a kid. They were amazing. But coffee's getting cold. I need like an electric cup that keeps coffee warm. So I never actually finish a cup of coffee. I just never actually finish it, because as soon as it gets kind of, oh my God, I'm done. Oh yes, I know. That's what I was thinking. Definitely on our next. By the way, we have to book that when I'm in town. I do have a spot. I might have more than one. But yeah, slip and slide for sure. Like, that is going to be epic. If you start giggling, I'm gonna giggle with you. By the way, I'm just totally gonna make that happen. And so the I can't. Okay, I'm coming down next week, Tana. Like, it's next week. We're doing this. But yeah, so those are some ways to help you get into those past lives and help you, do this work on your own to experience them. And you can be very specific. I guess I haven't talked about this, but you can be very specific what you're going to look for. For instance, I get this a lot. I have people that I get a lot of people that want to go and to discover how their family members or people they know have traveled with them. Because we all have a soul family, we all have souls that we travel with, and they want to understand their relationship. So if that's something you want to do, make that a part of your statement of intent. Your statement of intent is what's going to tell your subconscious mind what you're looking for. It's going to tell your higher self, your oversoul, your collective consciousness what it is that you're looking for. And it can be that specific, or you can go really general. If you're going to go general, just know that you may have to work through some stuff to understand, like, that general, like, I just want to see something. Okay. So you may go, I mean, you may not be in this multiverse. You might not be on Gaia anymore. That can happen if you're specific as well, because I definitely have one client who she is not of Earth at all. Her earthly lives are very limited, but her multiverse lives are quite expansive. So we get a lot of that. But even whether we're general or specific about what she's looking for, one of the things I started with was what could, like I said, what I needed to know. And a lot of it was actually showing me what I needed to work on and what was standing in my way and what my path was going to look like for the next little while. So it revealed a lot of the shadow that was within me. And that's how a lot of my first past life alternate incarnation traveling went. So because I wasn't really sure what I needed to work on at the time when I was in school, the one thing I knew and the only thing I like up until I had the kidney failure was that I knew I needed to deal with the fact that I was afraid of myself. But outside of that, my kidney function dropping out was really what gave me my kind of path in school, because we needed a path of things that we wanted to unwind, because a part of our schooling was the healing side of things and the practicum side of things, that we were all in the chair. And so but I understand every once in a while we can't put words to what it is that we're feeling. So we utilize the generalization of what we're feeling in order to discover what it is that might be a little more specific, that allows us to shed how we're feeling if it's not congruent with the way we want to feel. On the other side of this is using your emotions. You can use your emotions. Yes, you can follow your emotions. So you have a frequency or emotion that is constantly embedded in you. You can actually, it doesn't have to be a non-emotional thing. You can follow your emotions. But maybe we'll talk about the emotion. Yeah, let's talk about the emotional side and how to utilize your emotions for journeys in our next Friday. That's what we're going to do. Perfect. So we got next Friday, guys. Next Friday, we're going to talk about how do you utilize your emotions and emotions that you're feeling to use that as your statement of intent to journey. So that'll be next week. So thank you guys for coming out this morning. Thank you for your time, your energy, your space, your support. I very much appreciate it. Love having these morning coffees with you guys. I hope that you have a fantastic and fabulous weekend. If you guys have a moment, please smash the like button, the follow button, the subscribe button if you haven't. And for those of you who are new to the channel, thank you for taking your time to discover this channel. And I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. Thank you for everything. Honestly and truthfully, I just can't thank you guys enough for being here. So have an amazing day. Have a great weekend. We will be back next week. It will be, I think, just Friday morning, just because I will be on the coast again next week. And so those mean a little bit later days, which I find difficult to, I mean, I did a late show just to see, and I didn't really work out as much. But yeah, so we will see you for sure Friday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. And if you decide that you're going for a travel and a journey, you got this. You always got this. You're amazing. All right, guys. Cheers.